Welcome to the annual Charles L. Whistler Award Ceremony, the highest award for civic leadership given by the Mayor of Indianapolis. My name is Mary Chandler. I am the chairperson of the Greater Indianapolis Progress Committee, which co-sponsors this event. Thank you for attending this morning. I'd like to also recognize Beth White, who's the Executive Director of the Greater Indianapolis Progress Committee, waving from the back, and Lindsay Syke, who's an absolutely essential part of the organization. I'd also like to thank Faegre Baker Daniels for serving as the title sponsor of this event. Charles Whistler was a partner at what used to be Baker and Daniels for many years, and we're grateful that Faegre continues to honor his memory and service with a significant sponsorship of this event. As is customary at an event like this full of luminaries like you, I'd like to recognize some of our elected officials and ask that you hold your applause until all are introduced. Representatives of Congressman Carson's office and Congresswoman Brooks' office, City County Council President Bob Ostley, City County Councilors Duke Oliver, Blake Johnson, Colleen Fanning, Christopher Shreve, Councilors-elect Allie Brown and Kristen Jones. Thank you for your public service. I'd also like to thank, of course, Mayor Joe Hogshead and his cabinet for their service to the city, and we'll hear from the mayor in just a little bit. Thank you to Ida Tech President Sue Elsperman and Indianapolis Chancellor Kathy Lee for their hospitality. We always enjoy being here and enjoying the space. I'd also like to recognize Mary Ann Glick, who's here today. She was last year's recipient of the Whistler Award. Finally, I'd like to represent Phil Whistler, a neighbor and friend, and his 3 children, the grandchildren of Charles Whistler, Annie, Charles, and Mary. Annie's a little sick this morning, but we welcome the well members of the Whistler family. Thank you for being here. Briefly, I think most of you are aware that the Greater Indianapolis Progress Committee has been around for a long time. And we now are fortunate to share partnership with many other wonderful organizations, well-led organizations in Indianapolis, the Chamber of Commerce, the Indianapolis Downtown Inc., Sports Corp. Many of these organizations didn't exist when the Progress Committee was formed. And the Indianapolis Progress Committee was the entity that began to think about how to move the city forward in a nonpartisan way, working across sectors to really move forward some of the aspects of the city that we now take for granted. It still exists in that capacity, working with all of you to advance this great city. The Whistler Award was started many years ago to honor certain people who really worked tirelessly and behind the scenes to move the city forward. And if you look at the list of Whistler Award winners, including this year's award recipient, you think about people who no longer need something on their resume. They don't need a new job. They don't need a raise. They aren't elected to public office. They don't want to be elected to public office many times. There are people who you see on the street and have so much experience that when they stop you quietly and give you a one-line word of advice, it carries so much weight because it's quiet, it has integrity. You know that it comes from a place of love for the city. The Whistler Award exemplifies all that. Exemplifies Charles Whistler and the recipients who are here, the past recipients, Ms. Glick, and our current recipient. If you don't know them, try to get to know them. They're wonderful people. They care deeply about the future of the city. They care deeply about the the young people who are coming behind all of us to move the city forward. So I'm extremely honored to be here today to introduce this award in this breakfast. Before we move forward, I'd like to introduce Pastor Anthony Murdoch, the executive pastor of Eastern Star Church, who will get us going with the invocation.
Well, good morning, everyone. One more time. Good morning, everyone. What an awesome time to be together, and what a great celebration this is. It's just amazing to be a part of this. On behalf of the senior pastor of Eastern Star Church, Jeffrey Johnson Sr., and the entire Eastern Star Church family, we celebrate Bill Shrewsberry. Can you give him a great hand this morning? You all call him Bill, and we know him as husband, as father, as friend. We call him Elder Bill. Because some of you may not know is that he's also an elder at Eastern Star Church. And I will say, trying not to be emotional, and I'm going to pray very soon, is that this is an amazing opportunity to be here, to be able to celebrate such a godly man. And again, like I said, many of us know him in many different capacities. But what I can say is that all of us probably likely would say that he has great character, he has great integrity, and he's a man of humility. As I look in the eyes of Mrs. Shrewsberry and the family, I'm sure that they feel the same way. I'm sure those who have worked with him in the civic community feel the same way. Those who have worked with him in the professional, in the business community, it's the same way. And at the church where he's been a Sunday school teacher for at least 2 decades, we feel the same way. And that's an amazing blessing. So we're excited and we celebrate what Elder Bill has done, and we bless and thank God for what is to come. Let us pray. Most gracious God, we just say thank you for allowing us to be in your presence. Thank you, God, for the Greater Indianapolis Progress Committee and Beth White and the team and all that they have done and all that they are doing and are going to do. Thank you, God, for just sending us a special blessing in Bill Shrewsberry. We feel that was a godsend for us right here in this community and even across this nation. Thank you for what he has done and what he's going to do. Please, God, keep his family, his relationships, and help us to at least try to be some of what he is. And thank you now, God, for the food that we're about to receive. Let it nourish our bodies. In Jesus' name we pray and we say thank you. Amen. God bless you.
Since its establishment in 1965, the Greater Indianapolis Progress Committee, GYPSY, has been the driving force behind the public-private partnerships that transformed Indianapolis into a world-class city. Early projects included development of Eagle Creek Park and the Downtown Convention Center, as well as the groundbreaking passage of unified city-county government known as Unigov. At the forefront of these accomplishments were GYPSY's early leaders, including attorney Charles L. Whistler. A native Hoosier, Whistler spent his entire career with the law firm now known as Faegre Baker Daniels. Throughout that career, Whistler generously volunteered his time and considerable talent to assist in improving Indianapolis.
Chuck was a great guy. He came off the farm, out of the farmland, so he understood working for the future, taking care of seed corn, building things, great work ethic, cared about others, saw solutions, understood problems and issues, but always was in the effort to try to build the solution, create the solution.
The Progress Committee came along with at least the thrust of leadership of some civic persons. Now, Chuck Whistler was among the group, but he became especially important because his legal skills led to the drafting, as I recall, of most of the legislation that we finally offered during the General Assembly of 1969.
As Chuck Whistler was assisting in the transformation of the city, the Greater Indianapolis Progress Committee was gaining momentum as a bipartisan alliance of community leaders dedicated to improvement of the city. Today, Gypsy continues its role as a convener of thought, dialogue, and action aimed at improving Indianapolis and enhancing its image. With more than 100 members, Gypsy remains the driving force behind efforts that have made Indianapolis a world-class city. From improved race relations, to cultural and arts programs, to the new Eskenazi Hospital on the Wishart campus.
The Progress Committee has really covered the entire waterfront, I think, in terms of the development of Indianapolis. At the beginning, it was really the very structure of government. But for Gypsy, there wouldn't have been Unigov. Then we got into a bricks and mortar phase, which we've really continued over the years, extending from the convention center to most recently our advocacy for the building of a new hospital for the most needy of our community.
That has been the value of the Progress Committee and its leadership over the years, is to look at these community-wide issues with its broad-based membership and figure out the best way to get things resolved. That's what Chuck Whistler was all about. That's what the Progress Committee is all about.
In honor of Chuck Whistler's legacy, Gypsy leaders presented the first annual Charles L. Whistler Award in 1983. Today, the Whistler Award is the highest honor that can be bestowed on a citizen who has brought together Indianapolis's public and private sectors for city improvement.
When you receive an award from somebody who helped shape your life, it becomes very, very special. And Chuck Whistler was special to me, and winning the award made it even more special.
The award extends the recognition of the importance of the work that it represents, the importance of people trying to do leadership work that serves the best interests of the broader community, that takes on the challenges that need to be assumed, that provides imaginative and creative thought to the solutions of those problems. Chuck did all that, and it extends the recognition of the importance of that. And then obviously the anchor to it is the public-private nature of the recognition of the award. People working across sectors of the community to try to make things better for everybody.
The name of each recipient of the Whistler Award is engraved on a bronze and granite monument located in the Charles L. Whistler Memorial Plaza outside the city market. As Indianapolis continues to develop, the Greater Indianapolis Progress Committee looks forward to presenting the Charles L. Whistler Award to those individuals who follow in Chuck Whistler's footsteps as servant leaders, inspiring others to dedicate their time and talents to the success of this great city.
Bill, and much of what Bill has done, has been quietly done for the benefit of something other than himself. And as a result, recognition of him is in some respects providing a recognition that it's not about him. He believes that his purpose and the reason why he does what he does because of his faith.
Bill Shrewsberry, I just hope that he appreciates the fact that other people have seen his contribution, his work, his love, and all the things that he's done both publicly and privately to be such a blessing to people. And I hope that he enjoys all the things that people are going to be pouring on.
So Bill's a great leader and example of what we all need to do. And I'm just so excited that he won the award, because you want to recognize people who have been great leaders in a specific space, and the Whistler Award is perfect for Bill.
Business owners are pressed with the business of running the business, and for them to take time away from strategic thinking and moving their companies forward to serve the public good like Bill does, I think he's just a real treasure.
Bill was elected to city council at large in Jeffersonville, so that's not no easy feat. Bill taught me this. He said when you're in public office, one of the things you got to understand is those days they had 7-member council. And Bill said something I thought profound. He said, in order for me to get one thing passed, I've got to give up 4 things. So he said you had to be able to work with the partners, with your other team members on the council in order to get things passed. I may not always agree with everything that's passed, it may not always be the things I want to be, but you pick your fights. So you always had to work together, and he was that type of president, that type of council person. He cared about his community, but also he worked together with the persons who were elected beside him. So they were partners, not adversaries, people who he couldn't get along with. He was always that person who could bring everybody together.
Bill and I first met at the end of 1988 or beginning of 1989. We were both on the first staff that Evan Bayh put together when he was elected governor of Indiana in 1988. Early on, I think it might have been 1989 or 1990, the federal government announced that a military base in southern Indiana was going to be closed. And we were asked, Bill and I and the federal person, to go down to southern Indiana to this base to meet with the leadership to talk about ways in which we might try to fight to keep the base open. That was our goal. Well, we went down there and we had our meeting with the leadership, and then the leadership of the base told the military leadership told us that they'd like us to go into another room adjacent to where we were to quote unquote rub elbows with some of their employees. We said fine. We got up and walked into the other room, and it turned out that it was set up in a town hall format with about 400 people who had just learned within the last week or so that they were probably going to lose their jobs. We were put in front with name tags in front of, nameplates in front of each one of us. Needless to say, there wasn't any rubbing of elbows going on. There was simply a bunch of people asking us what we were going to do to save their jobs. Bill immediately spoke up. I'm sure he didn't know what he was going to say when he started talking because we had no preparation for this, but he just began talking and talked about how we wanted to hear what they had to say. We wanted to take it back to the governor, that the governor would fight for them, both in Washington, D.C. and in Indiana. We couldn't guarantee any outcome, but we would, if the base closed, we'd do our best to bring further economic development to the area and try to fight for job opportunities for them. But in the meantime, we'd fight to keep the base open in Washington, D.C., where the decision was being made. And it just diffused the situation, and we got a nice round of applause when we left, which had nothing to do with any of us except Bill, who was, from that moment forward, my hero.
As soon as he left the Mayor's Charter School Board, we said, aha, we're going to get him on the Mind Trust Board so he can bring the experience that he has in evaluating charter school applications to the work that the Mind Trust does to invest in talented people to launch new schools. But Bill was also really instrumental in helping the Mind Trust transition to being more intentional around its community engagement work. That was something that the Mind Trust did not do as well as it should have at the beginning of the organization, and I think because of Bill and other people became a real model for how to do that work nationally. So as the chair of the Mayor's Charter Schools Board, and after that as a member of the Mind Trust Board, Bill has really been helpful in getting tens of thousands of kids an opportunity to get a better education, and tens and thousands of some of our most vulnerable students.
I've sort of looked at Bill as a role model, and he probably doesn't want to hear this, but you know, I've held him up because I really do believe, especially in some of our public initiatives that are striving to bring more equity to spaces like public education and healthcare, that you know, we really do need people who are business owners who can bring that expertise and also their largesse to the table and help move some of those initiatives forward.
The city was awarded the Super Bowl in May of 2008. And when we went into that final bid, we hadn't talked a lot about how we were going to set up the Super Bowl if we got it, just let's get it and then we'll sort it out. And so Bill was one of those. We chose him and asked him, begged him to please lead the operations division of the Super Bowl. So his job, his volunteer job, was to convene all the right people in all those areas, bring them to the table, and map out the best plans. Not that Bill was specifically an expert in worldwide security events, but Bill would help us get all the right people at the table. Bill would work so well with the stadium people, the NFL people, the city, and get those groups all convened to make sure we had the best plan. And he was amazing. He did such a great job.
I was one of the first board members with Bill Shrewsberry, Shrewsberry and Associates, when there were like just a few people there. And it's so great to see how the company has just grown, just exploded through the years, and all the great work that he's done, and how he's helped even employees go out and start their own businesses. You know, I think a great legacy of a person is when a leader has people that work for them and they don't try to hold them back in a selfish way, and they really try to help them expand and move on and to do great things as well.
Shrewsberry and Associates got started in 2001, September the 1st, and 10 days later 9/11 happened.
Oh, yes.
And the country came to a grinding halt. We wondered, what have we done? But despite that, he continued to show by steady leadership and guidance that despite the things that happened, we'll be okay. And that steady hand has stayed him all these years and continues to support me even today. Bill is as steady as the day is long. As a result, what you saw yesterday, today, and tomorrow appears like they will always be that way. The Bible says in James something to the effect that if you are wise and you claim to know God, then you live humbly, you'll do good works because you are wise, or something to that effect. And that is probably the most admirable thing about Bill, and the thing that I most lean on to. He is an example for me.
Well, first of all, I just appreciate him being a model of Christian manhood that every ministry needs. We need our young boys and our young men to see, here's what real Christian manhood looks like, because if you can see it, you can be it. If you can behold it, you can become it. So Bill became that here. As a businessman, he's a businessman with honesty and integrity, and understands responsibility and accountability. And we don't always see that in business people. But Bill has done that. He's proven that you can be a successful businessman without lying and cheating and stealing and ripping people off and scheming. And then the economic development aspect of that too. So he's got offices in different parts of the nation, and he works in different parts of the nation and created jobs. So instead of waiting on somebody else to come and create these jobs, Bill took it upon himself. I'm gonna build this business, but it's not just gonna be for me and my family. That I'm gonna bring other young men and women in. I'm going to mentor them and teach them, expose them, and help them to come up and help them to break off and do their things without holding them back, but actually encouraging them and showing them how that's done.
I mean, Bill's legacy goes on through his kids and his grandkids, but his kids are successful. They've done a great job. They've been right there with him. And he's built a legacy in family. So, you know, the Bible talks about fruit, and you can see the fruit that's being bared by people who Bill touch.
He's, in my view, sort of the definition of what the Whistler Award was all about. He's a private sector individual who has a public servant's heart and really works constantly to make this city a better place, whether it's supporting the government side of things or whether it's supporting civic initiatives.
I'd like to now introduce our mayor, Indianapolis Mayor Joe Hogsett, to say a few words about Bill and present the award.
Well, good morning. My timing is impeccable. I'm sorry I've been running a little late. Hey, you would think with the election over I'd have more time, but it's actually gotten busier. But I am indeed honored to welcome all of you to the 2019 Whistler Award Ceremony and to thank you all for attending and celebrating the very best in our community. I would especially like to recognize all the elected officials, I presume they have been identified, who are here today with us, and their representatives, Your presence here demonstrates the importance of the celebration and the legacy of this award. My thanks, obviously, as well to Bakery Baker Daniels, Murray Clark, for yet again providing title sponsorship of this event. Today's award, the Charles L. Whistler Award, is named for a man who helped make and remake the city of Indianapolis. He helped create community and economic activity where there was none before. And he found new uses for places that were too important to leave behind. He did this as a business leader, as a public partner, and as a community cheerleader. So today's man of the hour, Bill Shrewsberry, embodies so much of what this award celebrates. As founder and president of Shrewsberry Associates, Bill and his firm have left an imprint on some of the most recognizable projects of 21st century Indianapolis. The award-winning Indianapolis International Airport, the home of the Colts and Super Bowl 46, Lucas Oil Stadium, the upcoming Community Justice Campus in our Twin Air neighborhood, the 16 Tech Innovation District, the revitalization of Riverside Park. Well, I list only a few, but I could go on. What each of these unique projects have in common is one thing: Indianapolis. They all serve to define the way we look at our city. They all serve to define the way the world looks at our city. But of course, Bill hasn't confined himself to the private sector. He's also taken positions in both state and local government. Deputy Mayor of the city of Indianapolis. Executive Director of the White River State Park. Commissioner of the Indiana Department of Administration. Again, I'll stop for brevity purposes. I could go on. What is clear, though, is Bill has an ability, just like Charles Whistler, to distinguish himself in so many different roles. And of course, one thing we cannot forget to mention is the role that Bill has played in education and educational opportunity for the children of Marion County. Not only has he served on boards of the Mine Trust, IUPUI, and the IU School of Public and Environmental Affairs, he was also the first chair of the Mayor's Charter School Board. As the first chair, he helped shape our city's historic effort to lift every student into a better educational environment. Now, to be frank, I'm not even halfway through Bill's resume. but we can see that he has lived the sort of career and life that this award was created to celebrate. A life of quiet service in the midst of great success. A life of dedication to our city. As a result, he has achieved the same reputation enjoyed by all of those whose names appear on the plaque at the Charles Whistler Memorial Plaza. So, I was late in getting here, and enough from me. Will you please help me congratulate and join with me in celebrating the 2019 recipient of the Charles L. Whistler Award, our friend, Bill Shrewsberry.
I will begin with just by saying good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning. And I thought about, last week was Thanksgiving week, and many of us celebrated family and food and those things, but this morning versus Thanksgiving, I'm going to direct my comments to giving thanks. I really do. Give thanks for just being recognized this morning, because it's not my modus operandum that I'm doing things that people will come and have breakfast and say nice things about me. But first, I thank God for placing me in the right place at the right time to accomplish all of those nice things that people said about me. So I'm truly, as Pastor Johnson said, I believe in God, and I believe that God has orchestrated where I've been, the opportunities I've had, and it wasn't by accident. It was such by providence that God has led and directed things that have been accomplished. Mayor Hogsett, thank you for the remarks, and I thanked him for not telling any Jeffersonville, Clark County stories of Bill in the past.
I have a few.
Yeah, I know. And to the other elected officials, thank you for being here. I appreciate it. To the Whistler family, thank you for being here, and to Mary Ann Glick, most recent accomplished and awardee, and to the others in the audience this morning that have received this prestigious award. Good morning. And to the Greater Indianapolis Progress Committee, to those at the table there and throughout this gathering, to the Progress Committee, and to our chairperson, Mary Chandler, thank you for your leadership. But to the other Whistler committee members, those that gave me a call to say, Bill, are you going to be in town December 4th? Then we want to give you this recognition. Thank you for just nominating and selecting me. I am honored, yet I am humbled to be recognized among the ranks of those that have received this award previously. Thanks to all my friends. I had a chance, it's almost like I was running for office again. I walked through, everyone else was doing breakfast, and I was shaking hands, just trying to thank everyone I could. And I would call individual names, but I'd leave someone else. Please forgive me, but please understand my heartfelt appreciation for those some that have come in from out of town just to be here this morning. So thank you, friends, colleagues, my fellow employees, Shrewsberry and Associates. Of course, Bill was the one that helped with the design of Lucas Oil Stadium, and Bill helped with the Justice Project, and Bill, not really. They said I'm a man of integrity, so I won't tell you that I had not much to do with all of those projects. It was the excellent staff and persons I worked with that helped make our firm, Shrewsberry and Associates, 18 years old. But we've also been recognized as one of the best places to work in Indiana. I'm looking at the staff and smiling because when they suggested that we seek that nomination, and I, of course, no, that's not good. We're never going to win, and we won, and so now, forever, I am apologetic, but for my opinion. Last but not least in my thank yous, I want to thank, with sincere gratitude and thanks, to Brenda Shrewsberry. I start with her because Brenda, my wife, over 5 decades, you can figure out the math, that she's sort of been with me. She is. I appreciate the employees allowing me, but also the home life that I could share with her, to be allowed to do so much in the community that maybe is outside and is always not directly beneficial to my family. So thank you, Brenda, for just being with me, helping me, wife, mother of my 3 children, my very, very best friend ever and forever. But a counselor and a listener and a consoler and a refuge and all the things that you need when you're doing public service. You need just certainly a good partner, and Brenda has been that for me. Thank you, thank you. Thank you. To Michelle, Monica, Monica's absent. She teaches over in Illinois and just couldn't be here. And to Micah, my son, my 3 children. Thank you for sharing your dad with the community. There were many times of sacrifice that I wasn't with my children. So I thank them for just sort of letting me be part of the community. And there were some sacrifices that were made on their part, but not many. Between me and Brendan, we tried to be with them in all that we were doing. And thank you to Michelle and Micah who were here for your tolerance and always being held to a higher standard of excellence and conduct and goals and life skills. I was a father that always asked for the best, and I can be reminded that sometimes they were saying, but my classmates and my friends, they don't have to always do this and that. But yes, you're Shrewsberry and you're part of my family, and here's the way we conduct ourselves. So thank you to Micah, Michelle, and Monica in her absence. Thank you, giving thanks. How many of you are old enough to remember This Is Your Life? An Art Linkletter. So sort of I was reminded of this morning of This Is Bill's Life, and whoever was Art Linkletter this morning. Several people have said to me that the most intriguing thing that you'll take away from this breakfast and this event will be watching Bill endure the nice things being said about him. And it's, again, it's not my thanks. I really, really appreciate, I'm honored, but yeah, I could do without all the nice things. Someone else said he'd probably do better with a roast. And being a former elected official, public servant, I get used to just people not saying good things, and I would be in my comfort zone with that. But thank you for the nice things that have been said, and it reminds me, and I start my final points, was in 1963, Dr. Martin Luther King, in that famous I Have a Dream speech, talked about and delivered a speech that talked about the dream of racial, economic, and social justice here in the United States. And that dream has not been fully realized. think all of us will testify to that. But as Langston Hughes, a poet in the 1950s, said, what happens to a dream deferred? Does it dry up like a raisin in the sun, or does it explode? And so today, I thank Gypsy, I thank Indianapolis, I thank Jeffersonville in Clark County where I grew up, for the dream that I heard from Dr. King, but became so much a part of me and what sort of motivates me even to this day, 56 years after Dr. King's speech and his writings. I'm still motivated by that dream. The dream has been deferred, but does it, like a raisin, dry up in the sun? And I thank those persons like Gypsy and those of you personally that know me and associate with me and that are working in this community that are keeping this dream alive about social justice and economic justice. And think about the Race Relations Leadership Network of Gypsy that's working still for a deferred dream. And we have great aspirations and dreams still here in Indianapolis that life will be better. So now, personally keeping the dream alive and what sort of motivates, what should motivate all of us, but what motivates me every day to work and to give back. Many of you know I was a non-traditional student. I went in the Navy after high school. I got out, decided after trying to work and doing manual labor, which is not my thing. Better go to college. And so I was a non-traditional student. Married, father, working full-time for Indiana Bell in management, but also serving on the Jeffersonville City Council while going to college. It was just a dream that I had. I was going to graduate. And so I was one of my late nights or weekends as I was trying to prepare, I found a poem that sticks with me through all of these years. I know that Micah, Michelle, and Brenda have heard me quote this poem, but it speaks to Bill Shrewsberry. So I'm going to finish with this saying, this poem, author unknown. Believe in yourself and in your dream, though impossible things may seem. Some way, somehow, you will get through to the goal in life you have in view. Mountains fall and seas divide before the one who in his or her stride takes the hard road day by day, sweeping obstacles away. Believe in yourself and in your plan. Never say I cannot, always say I can. The prizes of life we fail to win because we doubt our own power within. May God bless you. Thank you for this award, and have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you all for being here. We pride ourselves on our timeliness. What I'd like to do very quickly before we adjourn is to thank the Whistler Award Committee and our sponsors, Mind Trust, Glick Philanthropies, IUPUI, Yvonne Shaheen. I especially want to thank Murray Clark, Deborah Daniels, and Yvonne. And our past award winners, in addition to Mary Ann Glick, David Frick, Fred Glass, David Shane. And to just build on what Bill is saying, there are so many people in this room that keep the dream alive for Indianapolis. so many of you do so much in small, little, and big ways to move this city along. I myself am incredibly grateful. Bill, congratulations. You're just absolutely the perfect embodiment of that spirit. Thank you for being here. We'll see you next year.